like you. Be strong to hold the powers of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one.
A shocking wave rippled through the world of K-pop that day. ARMY's timelines were filled with emotion and outrage after the incident at Jimin's Café, a place long known as a haven of warmth and love from fans. Overnight, that safe space became the target of hate attacks, both online and in real life. Notes filled with cruel words were found plastered on the walls, defacing the same spots once covered with messages of love for Jimin. The news spread fast, and armies around the world reacted with a storm of grief and fury. But amid the chaos, one person emerged with quiet strength: Jungkook. Just hours after the story broke, Jungkook posted a short message on Weverse. It wasn't long or dramatic, yet every word seemed to pierce through the screen. "Hyung, don't let hate touch your heart. You've given so much light to others. I'm here always." It was simple, but it carried deep emotion. Armies flooded the comments with tears and heart emojis. They knew Jungkook. When he writes something like that, it means far more than words. It was the silent promise of a younger brother to protect the person who had always been his warmth. And when Jimin saw the message, his reaction melted millions of hearts. In a short video captured by a fan near the cafe, Jimin smiled faintly as he read Jungkook's post on his phone. He looked down, wiped the corner of his eyes, and smiled again, not a casual smile, but the kind that said, "I'm not alone." The next day, the atmosphere around the cafe changed completely. Fans from different cities gathered, not to take pictures or crowd the area, but to cover the hateful notes with messages of love, bright paint, and fresh flowers. And among the crowd, a few armies noticed a figure standing quietly at a distance, dressed in a black hoodie and mask. His movements were cautious, but his eyes gave him away. It was Jungkook. He stood in an unlit corner, watching Jimin talk to staff and fans. He didn't do much, just stood there, observing, making sure everything was safe. But his gaze was deep, full of emotion, like a silent guardian who didn't want to be seen, yet couldn't leave until he knew the person he cared for was truly okay. Then Jimin turned around, and their eyes met. For a second, time froze. Jimin smiled softly, and Jungkook lowered his head slightly, a subtle, affectionate gesture that spoke louder than words. "I'm here." Fans who witnessed the moment were stunned. Hands shook as phones tried to capture it, and when Jimin walked toward Jungkook, the two stood side by side without needing to speak. Jungkook gently patted Jimin's shoulder and clasped his hand for a moment. A small, simple act that carried immense warmth. There were no big statements, no staged photos, just two hearts that understood each other without words. Later, Jimin took the microphone to speak to the fans who had gathered. His voice was calm but carried a quiet tremor at the end of every sentence. "I know many of you came because you were worried, but I want you to know, I'm okay. And I'm not alone. Thank you for your love, and thank you to someone who always watches over me, even in silence." As soon as those words left his lips, cameras turned toward Jungkook standing a few steps behind him. He smiled gently, bowed his head, and lightly patted Jimin's hand. That moment was captured and spread instantly, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. Within hours, hashtags like #StandWithJimin, #JikookSupport, and #JungkookAlwaysThere trended globally. Hundreds of thousands of fans shared messages of love, while fellow artists expressed solidarity. When the event ended and the cafe was temporarily closed, Jimin and Jungkook were seen leaving together under tight security. Yet cameras still caught a glimpse of their quiet tenderness, Jungkook's hand resting lightly on Jimin's arm, guiding him through the crowd. To outsiders, it might have looked like a simple gesture of care. But to ARMY, it meant something more. Jungkook wasn't just ensuring Jimin's safety, he was reminding him he wasn't alone, even when the world felt cruel. At the car, Jimin waved briefly to fans. From the back seat, Jungkook watched him with soft eyes that seemed to say, "You did well today." That night, social media was flooded with clips and photos of them together. Fans wrote heartfelt captions like, "They're more than bandmates, they're family," And look at how Jungkook looks at Jimin. That's not just concern, that's love. A few hours later, word spread from a fan who worked at a private cafe in Seoul. They had seen Jimin and Jungkook sitting together in a quiet VIP room. No cameras, no staff crowding around. Just two people sharing silence after a heavy day. The lights were dim, soft music played in the background, and the scent of warm tea filled the air. Jungkook sat beside Jimin, watching his tired but peaceful face. He didn't say much, just offered him a cup of tea and patted his shoulder now and then. "Thanks for coming," Jimin whispered. "Hyung, you know I can't just sit still when someone hurts you," Jungkook replied softly. They both laughed lightly, then fell silent again. The kind of silence that feels full, not empty. There was something deeper between the words: mutual understanding, protection, and trust. One witness later shared that at one point, Jungkook gently draped a small blanket over Jimin's shoulders. Jimin looked at him for a moment, then smiled. A smile that said, "I'm safe now." Hours later, as they sat by the large window overlooking the glowing Seoul skyline, Jimin murmured, "It's funny, even after all that hate, there's still so much love." Jungkook smiled. "Love always wins, Hyung. And you're the reason so many people believe that." Jimin looked at him quietly, holding on to those words. He knew Jungkook wasn't just talking about fans, he was talking about them. About a bond that had grown over the years, under pressure, yet remained tender as ever. Fans who heard this story from close sources described it as a night full of meaning, a night where two souls who understood each other found peace after the storm. The next day, HYBE released an official statement promising legal action and improved security. But the public seemed far more drawn to the human side of it all, especially the way Jungkook's quiet support had helped Jimin smile again. Articles praised their friendship as a symbol of empathy and solidarity in a digital age. On social media, fan art, edits, and quotes from the Jikook moment flooded every platform. Hashtags like #JikookForever, #SupportJimin, and #JungkookCares stayed on top of the trends for days. Over time, Jimin's Café transformed. The hateful notes were gone, replaced by hundreds of messages of love. On the back wall, one fan had written a line that became the event's symbol. "From wounds, light is born, and that light is Jimin." A week later, staff confirmed Jungkook visited the cafe again, quietly and alone. He didn't tell anyone. He just sat for a while, reading fans' messages, smiling to himself. Before leaving, he wrote a short note on a lavender-colored paper and stuck it to the wall. "Thank you for loving him. JK." When Jimin came a few days later and saw the note, he stared at it for a long time, then smiled and whispered, "Thank you for being here." The cafe incident left scars, yes, but it also revealed something far more precious, that beneath all the spotlight and noise, they were still human, capable of being hurt, but also capable of healing each other. Jungkook proved that real support doesn't always need grand gestures. Sometimes it's enough just to show up, hold a hand, or offer a quiet look that says everything. And Jimin showed that gentleness is not weakness, but strength, the kind that can calm a storm. In the end, ARMY learned something too. Love and solidarity will always be stronger than hate. And among all the lights that shone again after that dark night, one truth became undeniable. The bond between Jimin and Jungkook isn't just a story for the stage. It's a real story of two hearts that protect each other, always.